Joe, we have a Manchester derby coming up, don't we?
FA Cup final. Really excited. The Pitch Pod is going to cover this upcoming match. Yes, as you said, Manchester City versus Manchester United for the glory, for the win, for the final FA Cup. Looking forward to it.
So, as we're getting into this, before we talk about the upcoming FA Cup final with Manchester City, Man U, Joe and I, we're going to review the previous match that we looked at. It was a big one, Coventry versus Luton Town. And oh my gosh, talk about an exciting matchup. And Joe, let me just get it out of the way. Congrats on your ring dinger.
Thank you. I mean, I had it. Yes, you got it. I mean, it was 1-1 into extra time, and sure enough, went through into penalties, and Luton Town was the winner in penalties.
Yeah, you nailed it, man. I did not see that playing out, but apparently you did, and it was a heck of a game. Yeah, just exciting from start to finish. Obviously you hate to see someone have to miss the PK for the team to move on, but nonetheless, congrats to Luton Town. Hats off. They've had a heck of a season, and that was a heck of a game to end on. But Joe, what kind of stood out to you as we were watching that match?
But I think the fact that knowing this, how I was going to go to, in a sense, some reasoning for prediction. I think that you're going to be two teams pretty level. This is both talent wise and the means that they went about this game, just more or less very gritty, physical game in a sense that you had two teams that, especially once you got into the second half and legs started to get weakened, and it was a little bit less of a beautiful game performance, more so just getting the job done and getting through to get to extra time than to get the penalties. I think a lot of what you saw on that there. So, but I mean, it is what it is. That's what these games are put together. We knew that they're going to be pretty well matched up, and it was just that, and it was exciting to see that it went through that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I guess one of the standout performances that I saw in the game was the first goal that Luton Town scored. I mean, Abadayu, that assist he did was just incredible. And then he dished it off to Clark, who was making that run in front of the goal, one touch and then a shot. I mean, that 1-2 combo was just incredible. So a great finish, but from my perspective, the guy that made that play happen, the guy that was influencing the game was Abadayu, the striker. And again, that assist he had, the way he set that up, to me, when I watched that, it made me think of Maradona. It was just incredible, that play. So, Joe, what stood out to you?
I mean, that again itself, I think it means that they win a bit. The first half for Luton Town was much better. I think that was clearly, if you just look at that first, I think that's easily the better side. Like the combination play and the means that the players were more coordinated in what their efforts were trying to do to provide that sort of moment and chance to score. And there to go up 1-0 early, I think relatively early or in that first half, I think set the tone for what they need to do. Fortunately, it dropped off a little bit in the second half, and Coventry showed up there, got their equalizer. But then I said that soon after seemed to really just grind down to a halt almost. I mean, I'm looking at the statistics and numbers, 63% and 68% respectively in terms of passing accuracy. So that's very gritty. I think that's the best word I could put as far as the type of game this was. And then sure enough to go into extra time and to get into penalties, which by the way, all the penalties that were finished, I thought they were excellent in terms of their conversion. I thought those were quality penalties all around. It, like you said, suggested to miss the penalty for that opposition team to go is always heartbreaking. Heartbreaking for the Coventry player. And hopefully he recovers well from it and continues and has a successful career from this afterwards.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, and I think they will. I think they will. But Joe, before we move on, we have to talk about the man of the match. Who is your man of the match?
I mean, you mentioned it. The game is about scoring goals, and so I think really any of the players. You know what? I'm going to separate any of the players that converted those penalties. I'm going to go. I don't have a single man of the match. I have a squad. Any of the Luton Town players that converted and scored on those penalties, I have to give my hats off to them.
Okay, out of the box response. I like that. As I mentioned, I'm going to go with Abadayu, but I respect that answer you gave, Joe. I like that.
Well, I appreciate it. It's kind of something a little different. I mean, again, at the end of the day, it's a team sport, so you always look to see how these teams play together, and they got the job done.
Well said. Well said. So looking ahead, FA Cup final, we got Man City, we got Man U. So it's a Manchester derby. Where else could this game be held? Wembley Stadium. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be super exciting. And I can't wait to see it. So, Joe, initial thoughts heading into this match.
I think we're looking at one that could go either way, in the sense that maybe more so Manchester United has been in better form consistently over the last few 4 games in league play. Not to say that that doesn't mean that City then can do what they need to do to get themselves together to win this. I mean, really between the two sides, of course, Manchester City's looking to get their second trophy. They're, the hardware there to continue to get the treble. And we can talk further. We're not going to get too far on this episode about their Champions League final coming up, but we will cover that later. So, I mean, I think they have all to play for. Both teams, I think Manchester United's had a great season. Manchester City, obviously winning the Premier League, has had a great season. So it's two great teams facing off in a FA Cup finals. I think it's all to be excited about.
Yeah, I think so. I think absolutely. I know Man United, they've been looking in better form, as you mentioned. They've had a couple big wins as of late. They have some great players. Rashford, they're a well coached team with Ten Hag, so they're always a threat. But Man City's clearly the favorites going into this. But my question for you, Joe, is Pep is obviously, we know that in the back of his mind, he's thinking about the Champions League, right? It's coming up. They're in the final. So does that impact this game? Is he a little bit more reserved strategically? Is he maybe trying to rest some of his players a little bit more than he normally would, or be a little bit more cautious with, say, Holland or De Bruyne, guys that he relies on? Or do you think that they're going to come into this game and kind of show Man U who they are and the fact that they're on top of the EPL league and they're going to win it? Is it about pride, or is he going to be waiting for the big one? What's your take on that?
I think this is the big one. This is the next upcoming match, and I always have the philosophy: the next upcoming match is always the biggest match, right? In the sense that that's what you're preparing for. You're training, you're preparing your squad, you're putting together a lineup. You're going to play in a means in a way that's going to go about getting the job done. In this case, it's winning. I don't think. Yes, we know it's in the back of the mind, but I think having this season in place and as it is, I think that you're going to see a Manchester City squad that's going to perform well in this one. And I mean, I don't know if we're getting ready to make the prediction or we're getting that far, but I see them being the stronger side, being the favorite. And I think that they possibly, in this setting, this environment, whether or not they have another match to look forward to, will prevail victorious.
Yeah, yeah, they're definitely the favorite going into this. But like you said, anything can happen, and Man U's been looking in good form, so yeah, it could go either way. But yeah, Joe, why don't you go ahead and I'll let you lead the predictions this time as I'm trying to make my mind up here. So go ahead, Joe.
I think you did. Manchester United, they are an organized, well coached team, and I think they're going to be fully prepared for this. Is it going to be enough though to handle the onslaught of the attacking prowess of a Manchester City and the two of them? I mean, you didn't ask, where does Holland show up to in this big time? I mean, is that what's going to be required? Is it going to be a Holland? I mean, we have seen other players in Manchester City step up and do what they need to score goals. Getting to it, I think they have few goals in them. I think in this kind of contest, I think you could see a Manchester City score 2 or 3. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say that Manchester City is going to score 3 to Manchester United 1. I got Manchester City winning this 3-1, big time FA Cup final win.
Wow. Wow. And maybe Rashford on the other side converting. I could see that happening. I think it's going to be a little bit tighter than that. I do think Man City is clearly the better team right now. They have so much star power. Even if De Bruyne or Holland are having an off day, they have Silva, they have Grealish, they had Mahrez that can all score, put the ball in the back of the net. So factoring that in, I think it's going to be a little bit tighter. I think it's going to be a 1-1 match, a draw, but in extra time, I think that we're going to have a victory. I think Man City's going to win this 2-1, but it's going to require extra time.
And that could be an incredible drama that they've played that tight all the way to get to extra time, and then somebody's going to show up. It could be a controversial call. Could it be someone that earns a penalty at the spot to put it up there late? I mean, all that drama, but it's still just such an exciting prospect. So if it goes that way, Jeff, I mean, again, I think we're both on the same page. At least we're picking Manchester City to win.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, if it does go that way, if it goes that direction, and Pep has to pick someone to put on the spot, Holland, that'd be fun to see how he does at that moment, and I'm
Mhm.
sure he would rise to the occasion. But either way, it's going to be a great game, and I can't wait to tune in for it. So, thank you everyone for joining us here at the Pitch Pod. If you like what we're doing, please support us by clicking that like, that subscribe, and as always, keep pitching out there, everyone.
In a game, the round ball, round posts, anything can happen.